Hello, hello, welcome. Pastor Tanner here. You hear it in my voice. I've had some sickness the last couple of weeks, and so that's why I didn't stream last Monday, but wanted to stream today, and yeah. So I hope you're doing well. Happy Monday. And we're going to get into some sermon prep here. It's just before Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. So the section right before that. So this last Sunday, I preached on where Jesus takes his time. I talked about that. Jesus takes his sweet time getting to the spot where he needs to be to raise Lazarus from the dead. And now the discussion he has with Mary and Martha before he actually does the sign. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, I apologize for my voice. If it's unbearable, I completely understand. No worries. But I didn't want to skip 2 weeks in a row. Might be a shorter stream. Just depends on how long my voice can stand up, right? But let's take a look at this. It says, "Now when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus has already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, 'Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give it to you.' Jesus said to her, 'Your brother will rise again.' Martha said to him, 'I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day.' Jesus said to her, 'I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?' She said to him, 'Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world.' When she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, 'The teacher is here and is calling for you.' And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. So it looks like she goes out ahead of time to meet with him, right? That's at least what I'm getting out of this. Just checking. Yeah, everything looks good. Everything looks good. Continuing. When the Jews who were with her in the house consoling her saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. So does she... So he's talking with Martha. Then Mary hears that he's here, but not from her. No, from her. Verse 28. "Teacher is here and is calling for you." When she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews were with her, so they're all following now. Now when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." So she's going through the same thing that Martha just went through. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying?" So they all have the same idea. What's up, Bama? Good to see you. Welcome. Did you change your stream time? Well, I'm trying to stream a little bit earlier today because my voice has not been great, and it seems to get weaker as the day goes on. So we'll see if I can maintain strength throughout the stream. But then not only that, I was hoping to swap off the kids with my wife this evening. She has some work she needed to get done. So I told her, you know what, I'll go ahead and front load my stream. I'll do everything a little bit earlier, and then we can swap off in the evening. So yeah, it's a little different than I typically do, Bama. As you know, I usually go from, 5 or 6-ish to 7-ish, at least our time. But today a little bit earlier, right? Hour or two early. So yeah, I hope you're doing well though. And again, I didn't stream last week because I haven't been feeling well. Still not feeling great today, but good enough, right? Didn't want to skip another week. So the first thing I am seeing is they all have a certain degree of faith. They all trusted he could have stopped Lazarus's death. Also, Jesus responds emotionally to the emotions of others. Now, I don't know this to be the case, but he knows he's going to raise everyone from the dead, but then it explicitly says when he sees everyone else weeping, then he goes out and he weeps as well, right? When Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. So he's responsive. This is very important, I think. He's responsive to the emotions of others. Even though he knows the miracle he's about to perform, this is no clinical exercise for Jesus, right? Bama says, got you. I'll be praying for your voice on my way home from work and got the notification. Ah, got you. Well, very good. I appreciate your prayers and drive safely. If you're driving or however you're traveling, be safe. And yeah, again, I don't know how long I'll be streaming tonight. Depends on the strength of my voice and how much progress we make. But I appreciate you swinging by. And yeah, I skipped a week and then now I'm streaming it at different times. So it's probably going to be a lighter stream. Okay, so I noticed that as well. And then he has to deal with, I mean, the big thing is they all have a degree of faith, but not enough, right? That's the big thing you're seeing. Mary and Martha both they trust Jesus enough to say you could have prevented his death, you could have healed him, but they don't trust him enough that he can raise from the dead. What's up, Ping? Good to see you. Welcome. Although Martha says, but even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. That's funny that she says that because when Jesus says your brother will rise again, she says, I know he will rise at the resurrection. So all three of them, this is the big theme. What's the big idea? Enough faith to believe he can protect and heal, not enough faith to believe he can raise from the dead. That's the larger theme here. You can see it repeated. Because Martha has that problem. Mary has the same problem. Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died. And then the Jews have the same problem. Some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying? Every single one of them. So it's something like when you have some faith but not enough. That's something about what's going on. Ping said, I saw a video that said something to the effect that one needed the theological answer, the other just needed to cry. That's really good, Ping, because if you look at Mary and Martha as their character, he treats them a little bit differently, even though it's the same situation. That's very valuable, Ping. Yes. Yes, very nice. Because one was worrywart and the other was more theological and liked having things in order. That's right. That's Martha. Martha's the second one. So, yes, when you have some faith but not enough. But the other piece, what's up, Ramiro? Good to see you. Welcome. Hey, Pastor Tanner. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. My voice is still a little weak. I don't know if you've caught the sermons the last couple of weeks, but my voice hasn't really been there. So I'm just taking it easy, healing up. I'm on the mend, but it's slow. It's slow. So that's a really good point, Ping. Martha and Mary, different answers for different people. I don't know if worrywart is the right word, maybe emotionally driven or something, but thought you might want that. No, that's super valuable insight, Ping, and I know exactly what they'd be getting at, right? Mary's the one who lives more in the moment, right? She's the one who, in a different scene, doesn't help clean up because she's so enraptured with Jesus, right? She's more in the moment, she's more of a free spirit, etc. That's Mary. And she is very emotional in this situation. and Jesus, answers her, but allows room for her emotions. Whereas Martha is asking a lot more questions, and Jesus is giving a lot more of a theological answer, just like you said. Yep. What's up, Midnight Doxology? Welcome. Hey, Pastor Tanner. Glad I could catch the stream. I'm glad you could too. Thanks for swinging by. I know I didn't stream last week, which might have thrown some people off, and I'm streaming a little earlier this week, so that might have thrown some people off too. Frank says, I've always wondered about the connection between this passage and the other where Jesus joins them for dinner. Isn't Mary the one who sat at his feet? That's exactly correct, Frank. Mary's the one who sat at his feet, and Martha's the one who was busied and troubled with much serving, right? Bama says unbelief. Well, they're all struggling with a degree of unbelief, right? So it's probably the reverse of what I put here, right? Here you have when you have some faith but not enough, or when you have some unbelief but not entire. Something like that as well. Yeah, very good. So, and that's great point, Frank. Let's just put that as a cross reference. We're going to need to reference that here in our sermon. So let's just go Bible and let's type Martha serving. We should get the hit. Martha served. Lazarus was reclining at table with him. Oh, this is afterwards. I thought it was in a different area. No, it is in a different area. There you go. It's Luke 10. It's Luke 10. But it looks like there's continued account in John 12 after he raises Lazarus from the dead in John 11, which will be cool. Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to come help me. But the Lord answered, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things. One thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. So it gives a little bit of insight into their personality and their character. So that's a great cross-reference. That's a great cross-reference we're going to want to use. Perfect. Thank you, Frank. But I'm still convinced, I'm still convinced that this is the crux of the passage, because you have it from Mary, you have it from Martha, and you have it from the Jews. All of them have some faith, but not enough, right? And I think the answer is keep showing up. What do you do when you have some faith, but not enough? I think the answer is keep showing up. Because look, they keep showing up, and Jesus keeps doing additional miracles, additional things. He keeps surprising them in ways that they didn't recognize or understand. Terrence, what is up? Hey, Pastor Tanner, have you Wayne McDill's 12 Great Steps to Preaching? If so, do you use it for structural diagramming? I'm not sure. Let's see. I have it. I don't think I've used this before. Ooh. Oh, I want to turn this into a workflow. That would be cool. Do you use it for structural diagramming? I do not. Right here, diagramming the text. Structural diagram. Identify independent clauses, supporting phrases, etc. I will tell you, Terrence, I stopped doing a lot of structural diagramming on my own. It was taking too long on a week-by-week basis, and I was finding that I was not getting the value out of it that I was hoping for. Okay? So I will tell you what I use when I do structural diagramming. I use two tools. One is called Cascadia. Syntax graphs of the New Testament. Let's try this one right here. So this one, Cascadia, is a resource that you can go to any passage in the Bible, and they've done the structural diagramming for you in the Greek. And if you want the Hebrew equivalent, it's the Anderson Forbes. Spelled E-N, I believe. Anderson Forbes. Yes. No. This one. Clause visualization. There you go. Here's Anderson Forbes. It's the Hebrew version of the same thing. This is what I use. The sentence diagramming is already done. Now, I know if I were to do it myself, that's more valuable. I understand that. But is it more valuable relative to all of the time, effort, and energy I put into doing the sentence diagramming? I don't know about you, Terrence. Maybe you've gotten good at it. Sentence diagramming takes me hours. Hours to do sentence diagramming. And its final contribution to the sermon is negligible. And so I have found I can get the majority of the value out of sentence diagramming by just referencing Cascadia or Anderson Forbes, and then I move on to my sermon prep from there. That would be great if you can do a video on it. Let me add it to my list. Okay, I'll try that. Let me add it to my list. I think it is on my list. So for those who don't know, I have an ongoing list of video ideas. And I've been in too dense a season at the moment to do many videos. So this is an ongoing list of video ideas I have. And right here, I will put sentence diagramming. Okay. Sentence diagramming. And then also getting value from Cascadia and Anderson Forbes. It's going to be a while, Terrence. I'm learning to do it. That's great. And there's lots of good resources to learn to do sentence diagramming from. I have found the greatest value, Terrence, is getting in there and doing it. So there are many different ideas on how to do it and how to do it well. But the best way to learn is to just get in there and do it yourself. So start with the process. If it doesn't make sense, use a different resource, start with that process, etc. And then for your purposes, you can always double check against Cascadia or Anderson Forbes. The other thing you can do is you can get a syntactic, there's a syntax analysis, also does a bit of sentence diagramming, and it's embedded in your Bibles. Lexham Hebrew, no. Who is the author who does all the... It's not syntax. What is it? I can't even remember the author. If I remembered the author, I could know it. Logos has a guy who works for them who does tons of technical analysis on the text. But I forget what it's called. It's not syntax. It's not syntactic. No, it'll probably come to me. No problem. I practice your videos. Yes, I agree. Perfect, Terrence. Perfect. Pink says, oh, that's neat. Video ideas, but isn't a content creator anymore. I'm just very slow at creating content these days, Pink. You can see by virtue of the fact that I'm streaming, I still do it a little bit. But, yeah. Bama says, a form of spiritual blindness to those who have more will be given. Yes. I like that idea. I'm going to put that right here. I like that. Discourse analysis. You nailed it, Frank. Thank you. And it's Rungi. Steve Rungi. What's up, Deep Dive? Yeah, Frank, you got it. Rungi. How you doing, Deep Dive? Good to see you. Discourse analysis. Now, here's what I wanted to show you with the discourse analysis is you can set up... I actually have my Lexham, my LEB, Lexham English Bible, set up for discourse analysis already, and I just don't touch it. So this... you can see I've utilized, and I'm still getting used to the toolbar. It's good. The toolbar is good. I don't mind it at all. It just takes some getting used to. Okay. But maybe it's formatting. Might be more view. More tools. No, I'm looking for visual filters. I have a bunch of visual filters on here. Again, I'm still getting used to this toolbar, guys. I'll get there. It just takes time. Might be here. Notes and highlights? No. Anyway, you can set up your visual filters to kind of set this up, and you can see it's a modified form of sentence diagramming. Now, it's discourse analysis, so it's a little different than a pure sentence diagram, but you can also get some ideas from here. But you got to set your visual filters up. George, hello. It's good to see you. The George Haven, y'all. I don't know if you guys remember, but in Logos's launch of the subscription model, George Haven was a featured quote. Let's see what George has to say. Hi, Pastor Tanner. Glad to see you're on the mend. Just want to point out the reason Jesus waited 4 days was because the rabbis believed the spirit could re-enter a dead person for up to 3 days. Ooh. He wanted to prove their little theory wrong. Very interesting. Thank you, George. I had not heard that before. That's a fantastic point. Formatting, I think. Okay. Formatting. Is it under... You're right, I think. Yep, it's emphasis. Maybe. Reformat? No, it's reformat right here. Discourse features. Yep. Thank you so much, Frank. You'll go formatting tab, and then under there, you go to reformat, and you can see discourse features Greek and discourse features Hebrew, and you can turn all these on. And if you turn these on, then you can see this all broken down. The other thing you can do is propositional outlines. Propositional outlines is a way to do an embedded sentence diagramming. Let's try it real quick with our ESV. Propositional outlines. And you can see right here, it's kind of broken down that way. It's similar to utilizing the discourse analysis, right? Perfect. All right, thank you guys. Great interactions thus far. We're already well on our way. To me, this is the key idea. When you have some faith, but not enough. When you have some unbelief, but not entirely. This is the whole idea for people wrestling with halfway. For people wrestling to believe all that Jesus is. That's what's going on. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now let's go. I guess I want to flesh this out more. Kind of wondering where to go. This is just our cross reference. Let's look at the passage again. Been in the tomb 4 days. Many of the Jews had come to Mary and Martha to console them. Martha heard Jesus was coming. She went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know whatever you ask from God, God will give you." Jesus said, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said, "I'm the resurrection and life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live. Everyone who lives and believes in me shall never not die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord, I believe you're the Christ, the Son of God, who's coming to the world." So to Ping's point, very theological interaction here between Jesus and Martha. Now, when she had heard this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, "The teacher is here and is calling you." When she heard this, she rose quickly and went with him. Jesus had not yet come to the village, she was still in the place. Jews followed her out, thinking she was running to the tomb. So obviously she didn't quite hear what Martha said to her. And then she runs into Jesus, falls at his feet. "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died." And then notice the lack of theological interaction. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. Jews said how he loved him, but some said, "Couldn't he not open the eyes of the blind man who had kept this man from dying?" So, here's how we can incorporate the differences between all the individuals. Mary, Martha, and the Jews all have different approaches, and Jesus approaches them all differently. Notice how Jesus, they all struggle with unbelief. They all don't have enough faith. But Jesus treats them all differently. So those could be the subpoints. So the subpoints could be Martha, Mary, Jews. Maybe not in that order, but it's nice because that's how it's laid out in the text. And it might be because we all struggle with unbelief in different ways. We should keep showing up to strengthen our particular faith needs. It's something like that. That's gross, but that captures like all the ideas. Okay. I'm really liking this kind of idea for the proposition. And it's laying itself out nicely with the 3 different groups, right? Christopher Briggs, hello. She meets Jesus with a statement of accusation and affirmation. That's very nice, Christopher. I appreciate that. You guys are pulling out all the fun facts today. George Haven had a good one. Now, Christopher Briggs has a good one for us. Thank you. Martha understood later on, but didn't understand what would happen in the right now. Her expectations weren't clear due to her not having a clear revelation. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. Thank you for Christopher. So Christopher's helping us flesh out our subpoints because we have one subpoint on Martha. Because we all struggle with unbelief in different ways, we should keep showing up to strengthen our particular faith needs. I mean, this isn't bad. It's a little gross. Like, I don't know if I like the language of faith needs. There's a lot of different buzzwords here. I have unbelief. I have keep showing up as a phrase I'm going to be repeating. Strengthen our particular faith needs, right? And I'm using faith and unbelief like as antonyms, but maybe I could just pick one of them. Maybe I just pick one of them. But I'm close. This is close to what we need. And then we're gonna use Martha, Mary, and the Jews as 3 different foils to compare the unbelief to. Jesus Save Justin says, I love you regardless of who wins. Likewise, Justin. God bless you. Thanks for swinging by. Yeah, everyone's obviously talking about the election. It's obviously a big deal. Looks like a tight race depending on which polls you look at. And who knows how much the early voting is going to compare to same-day turnout. So, yeah, there's a lot going on with the election. But remember, our trust is in God, not in men or women. So irrespective of what happens, we keep trusting in God and seeking to serve and follow him. All right. This is pretty good. I really like where we've gone with this. Now, I actually want to start. I don't usually get to this step at this point in the sermon prep, but the outline laid itself out so nicely. I want to do the rest of the stream on the Canvas document. So I'm going to go to the big screen just so I can move my chat over and I can still be looking at it. And then I am going to open the Canvas document. And it's been a while since I built a Canvas on stream because usually this is so early in my sermon preparation process that I don't actually, I'm going to adjust this, that I don't actually get to it. Just want to get that bright white light off of my face. Okay. So now I'm going to have to put the chat over here. So I'm going to change how I'm looking at everything, guys. Perfect. And now I can see everything. Oh, Christopher also says, Martha ignores the Jews' customs. Jews' customs for the first 7 days to stay at the house. Martha is at a place of disregarding the rules and rituals. Christopher with the pure gold. Pure gold, guys. This is great background information. It's really going to pack a punch for our people. That's fantastic. Thank you, Christopher. Jesus Saved Justin says, I'm about to eat a chicken bacon ranch pizza. Praise God. That sounds awesome. That sounds absolutely delicious. I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so let me look at this stream. All right, everything's looking good. Now, we'll do this. It's been a while since I did this. Boom, we got it. So guys, now I'm looking forward. This is my center screen, okay? And this is how I do my notes. I make mind maps of my notes, okay? So I'm going to put the text up here. John 11, 17 to 37. And I have all these presets in here. The Canvas tool was not originally created with this idea in mind. This is my reappropriation of the Canvas tool. But if you want to reappropriate the Canvas tool in this way, it makes great mind maps. Some faith, but not enough.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
Hey, thanks for that follow. I appreciate that. Thanks, Justin. Much love to you. Much love. So, boom, some faith, but not enough. And what a mind map is, it's a spatial outline. So, I have 3 main points and an intro. So I put my intro in the upper right corner. It's in yellow. I put my first main point in the lower right corner. And for now, we'll just call it Martha. It's in blue. I put my second main point in the lower left corner. It's in red. And then I put my final main point in the upper left corner. It's in green. And now all I do is I expand on this and I flesh it out. Let me show you a finished one. This is what I preached off of yesterday. So this is yesterday's outline. Let me fix the, turn that gray as well. So this is yesterday's outline, trusting the self-glorifying God. You can see I had an intro in the upper right corner. I had kind of 3 main points, but then I repeated them. And then I talked about some final ideas. So this is what I preached off of yesterday. This is what I bring with me into the pulpit to preach. It's a spatial outline, okay? It's called a mind map. And that's what I'm doing right here. Making a new mind map, okay? Oh, 1 bit from Justin. God is good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Pastor, if I trust in God, but sometimes I get tempted to listen to secular music, that means I'm imperfect, right? It depends on what the secular music does to you. So there's a certain amount of holiness that we all develop in our lives. And in our holiness, the development of our holiness, we are seeking to transcend the lusts of the flesh, as it were. Now, I'm not convinced that listening to secular music in and of itself constitutes a lust of the flesh. However, secular music sometimes promotes the lusts of the flesh or can tempt us with the lusts of the flesh. You see what I mean? Now, if Jesus listened to secular music, because he is perfect, he's not sinful in the ways we are. He would listen to secular music and it would bounce right off of him effectively. It would have no effect, right? Because he's the perfect Son of God. Because each and every one of us is imperfect, some of us, when we listen to secular music, it bounces right off of us, but not because we're perfect, but because we struggle with different sins, and secular music is not one of them. However, others of us, when we listen to secular music, it doesn't bounce right off of us. Instead, we absorb its thoughts, ideas, and values, and that shapes our mindset. It shapes our lives. It shapes our reality. And so what I would encourage you to do is, Paul said, to the pure, all things are pure. Paul also said that all things are possible, but not all things are profitable. And so long as there is something in your life that is not profitable, you should be very wary about including it in your life. If you have things in your life that are leading you astray or are unhelpful in your walk, then you should not participate in them. Okay? So hopefully that helps. What's up, Angie? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let's see, John. Hello. John Much. I am your biggest fan in Hillsboro, Oregon. Well, hello, John. Thanks for swinging by. I'm glad you're a fan. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. And I appreciate all your love and support. Thank you. Those are very nice words. I appreciate that very much. Christopher says, Mary and Martha are in a place of grief and gloom. What causes them to be at this stage in their lives is that God wants glory, but this circumstance is causing grief. Yeah, that's very valuable, Christopher. And I think it makes sense of why Jesus delayed a little bit. Like you said, he delays because it runs contrary to the Jewish rituals, but he also delays so that God's glory may be seen, right? Perfect. I put that down as a note. Yeah, Justin, as you grow in Christ likeness and you grow in your spiritual walk and journey, you will begin to discern those things that have a negative soul impact, if that makes sense. And then a right response to those things that have a negative soul impact is to avoid them. Okay? Now, that doesn't always mean forever. Sometimes God grows us into maturity such that things that used to cause a negative soul impact to us no longer do. But that work takes many years. It takes many years of sanctification. Sometimes God does it in an instant, but for the most part, in our lives, it takes many years for us to grow in our sanctification such that the soul impact of negative things is minimal. So just keep that in mind. Christianity, walking with Jesus, these are marathons. They are not a sprint. Okay, marathon, not a sprint. Frank says, do you think this flowchart would be helpful for writing papers? Mind mapping is useful for a lot of things. I personally use mind mapping for public speaking, but I heard about it from somebody who used mind mapping for note taking.
Your life is not in your hands. Your life is in the hands of God.
47 months.
Angie Jags 88 just resubbed for 47 months.
Much love, much love. That's awesome. Justin, yes. Hooray. Thank you so much, Angie. 47 months. That's almost 4 years, y'all. And then not only that, not everyone can see it, but John donated $2. Thank you, John. You are awesome. Thank you so much for all your love and support. Fantastic. I appreciate you very much. I just got a message I need to check. 1 second here, guys. 1 second. Man, you guys are great. I didn't know how today's stream would go. I was gone last Monday, and then today is different. And yet here you guys are. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Much love. Thank you. Thank you. Hold on. I need to answer this message.
This is the biggest room of freaked out snowflakes you've ever seen in your life.
Let's go.
Angie
guys.
Jags 88 cheered.
Angie,
X100.
100 bits popping off. That's fantastic. We got 100 bits from Angie. We got a bit from Justin, and he's brand new viewer. And then now we got the resub from Angie too. You guys are popping off. And John Much with the super chat, the $2 super chat. And John is firing off super chats. I appreciate you, John. Wow, you guys are, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, very good. Sorry, guys, I had a message I needed to answer. All righty, let's go back to Canvas. Perfect. Oh, I love the Pastor 7 Rories. Let's go, John. That's right. Thank you, Angie. Okay, so we're doing great work here. And now
this is the biggest room of
Justin,
freaked out snowflakes you've ever seen in your life.
Jesus saved Justin cheered. X100.
Amazing. 100 bits from Justin. Does that spark a hype train? Let me look. I see it. Hype train is on. Hype train is on. Man, you guys are popping off tonight. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Let's go, Justin, indeed. Hype train is on, triggered by Justin and Angie Jags. Much love. Appreciate you guys so much. Okay, now what I often do is I like to sort out the verses that comprise each main point, right? John says, Logos is awesome, at least the way you use it. I love Logos, John. I've been using Logos for over a decade. Oh, it's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. Fantastic program. And I agree completely. So Martha, we get the explicit interaction with her in verses 20 through 27. So here we have verses 20 to 27. And so what I'll often do is when I introduce this point, I will say, now we can learn something about unbelief and strengthening faith from Martha. Look with me at verses 20 to 27, and then I will read those verses. And now it kind of comprises a small subsection of the text that we're going to focus on. And then here's where my subpoints will come in, right? So I might say things like, look how theological Martha is. She has lots of questions. I might say things like, notice that she has a certain understanding of what Jesus is saying, but she misses the bigger picture, right? And so I might make subpoints out of those. But it all starts with, here is kind of the subtext within the pericope. So that's 20 to 27. Now, where is Mary? Starts in 28. She rises quickly and goes to him all the way to Jesus wept. So we've got 28 to 35 for Mary. This text is laying itself out in a very nice traditional manner. This will be very easy to teach. It's going to go well. Just so you guys know, there are both deductive and inductive sermons. There are many others as well, but broadly speaking, they're both deductive and inductive sermons. I'm teaching this one deductively because I'm laying out my proposition ahead of time, and then I'm breaking it down. And this is the perfect text to have a deductive sermon. When you teach inductively, you ask questions instead. That's actually one of the ones I did yesterday, was inductive. It's right here. Notice how I lead with a question. How can you trust God when he actively
This is the
manipulates?
biggest room of freaked out snowflakes you've ever seen in your life.
Yeptar cheered. X100. Yo, hype train.
Yo, hype train indeed. Thank you, Yeptar. Getting on that hype train. Good to see you. Thanks for swinging by. I hope you're doing well. And thank you for getting on that hype train. Much love. Much love. That's fantastic. Yeah. W Yeptar. Thank you. So notice this is an inductive sermon. I ask a question, and then I flesh it out, and I seek to find the answer throughout the sermon. I actually had somebody tell me, you had me nervous there for a little bit, but then you brought it around in the end. That's a perfect example of an inductive sermon because you are leaving tension in the text because you're asking a hard question and you're not giving them the answer right away. Deductive is different. Deductive gives them the answer up front Because we all struggle with unbelief in different ways, we should keep showing up to strengthen our particular faith needs. And so that's going to be an application in every text. Keep showing up, right? And the value in this is people are more likely to remember it because we're able to repeat it over and over and over again throughout the text, right? So there are advantages and disadvantages to each. I go based on what I feel the text is leading me to do. If the text is leading me to go deductive, I go deductive. If the text is leading me inductive, I go inductive. Yeptar says, lurking as usual. I appreciate the lurk. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for jumping in on that hype train. Much love to you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, finally the Jews. After Jesus weeps, so the Jews said, see how he loved him. But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying? So it's just the last two verses, 36 and 37. Now, notice my subpoints don't take up the entirety of the pericope. I left out verses 17 through 19. Now, sometimes I'll include those like right here, right? I might do a brief treatment of 17 through 19 right here before I get into my main points. And it might be laying background information, orienting people to the text, etc. Usually you've got a good amount of people's attention right here after you've done your intro, you've grabbed their attention, you lay out your proposition. Ideally, they're like, ooh, that's something I can learn from. I'm interested in listening. And they pique up their interest. That is when you might want to lay out just a little bit of information up front. Not too much. You don't want to deaden their engagement, but instead just enough while they're at kind of the height of their attention, if that makes sense. Well, I mean, this thing is laying itself out perfectly. Sometimes they write themselves, guys. Sometimes the sermons write themselves. And this one just feels like it's coming together so nicely. So nicely. 3 main points, covers the majority of the pericope. We've got a decent proposition. Again, I might wordsmith this a little bit, but the idea is the same. The idea is exactly what we're looking for, right? Perfect. Perfect. Okay, let's read 17 through 19 and see if we want to include this information. Now, when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the brothers had come to Mary and Martha to console them concerning their brother. This is something we do want to treat because it sets the stage. And this also gives us opportunity to include some of the great information that Christopher had shared with us regarding why Jesus delayed. This is the kind of information that people are really going to enjoy, and they're going to be like, wow, I didn't know that. And they're going to walk away feeling like they really learned something from your sermon, right? So that's fantastic. And again, we got it from Christopher. He says that Jesus deliberately waited 4 days because rabbis believed a spirit could re-enter a dead person for up to 3 days. So he delays 1 day extra just to prove them that their superstitions, as it were, are wrong. Jesus waits 1 day extra to prove their superstition wrong. Now, I can't get up and say Christopher Briggs says. I could, but nobody would know Christopher. Instead, I want to see if I can find this information in historical text, right? So I would do a search in my historical background books. You're talking your, who puts that out? IVP academic books on New Testament background information. You're talking the commentary. Which commentary is it? Bible background commentary. There's several of these, right? And you're going to search through these and you're going to find that information that Christopher shared with us. And then you can cite your source. So it'll be perfect. So we're going to put that. And then I kind of call these things fun facts. They're the sort of thing that people really get a kick out of when you're doing the Bible study. Now, what kind of intro do we want? Usually you want to include, I think Bryan Chapell calls it a human interest account. It's where you're telling a story. You tell a bit of a story regarding the topic at hand, right? So we might talk about people who have different unbelief that they struggle with, right? I might just introduce several different types of people, you know? And I actually think that's a perfect example. So you might put different types of people struggling with different forms of unbelief. Okay. And so you might have the college professor who's struggling academically and intellectually with unbelief. So we might do C.S. Lewis, for example. You might do, I forget her name. She was, what's her name? She's a convert to Christianity. She was practicing a sexually deviant lifestyle, and this couple had invited her to their home, and they had dinner with her regularly, and she eventually converted to Christianity. I forget her name. She's written several books. If you guys know it, you can put it in the chat for me. But she was having a little different struggle with the idea of God than C.S. Lewis was. But that's the sort of intro we could do, where different types of people struggling with different forms of unbelief. And then I could say something like, maybe you resonate with one or more of these. Well, these are not problems simply for our time. People struggle with these kinds of unbelief in Jesus' day as well. In fact, here in the text, we get 3 separate examples of people who are struggling with unbelief in their lives. And we can learn from them. Because we all struggle with unbelief in different ways, we should keep showing up to strengthen our particular faith needs, right? Boom. Now you've got your intro going, and it's strong, right? You've got a strong intro that interests people, and they feel like, oh, I can resonate with that. That's me. So you could do something like that. Jaron Bars, I remember, I also liked his. Jaron Bars has an amazing testimony, struggling with suicidal ideation, and converted. Butterfield? It's Butter something. Butterfield? What's her name? I could have swore it was Butter. I think it's Butterfield. I'm not seeing her now. I thought I had her book in Logos. Yeah, Rosaria Butterfield. That's right. Rosaria Butterfield. There we go. So we got a great intro. It's going to grab people's attention. We teed up with a proposition that's related to the text and people's lives related to the intro. We're going to give a fun fact up front. That's going to give it to where people feel like, ooh, we're digging in the text. I'm getting some good information. And then now we can flesh everything out under our 3 main points. 3 different types of people who are struggling with unbelief in different ways. Boom. It is teed up, guys. It is ready to go. This one is writing itself. And you need to, Bryan Chapell talks about, he calls it expositional rain. And it's using similar terms, and you sprinkle them throughout your sermon. So I will say more than just keep showing up after talking about Martha, after talking about Mary, after talking about the Jews, but I will say at least that every time. And what that does is people will walk away with this, that's right, keep showing up. I may be struggling with unbelief. I may not understand. My faith may be weak in some ways. Keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up, right? So I think that's huge. Okay, guys, I'm going to go yeah, we're at almost an hour. We've made fantastic progress. I loved interacting with you guys. Let's just go to the big cam. I loved interacting with you guys. We made fantastic progress this evening. Very excited for the direction the sermon's going. I do have to go. I'm going to spend some time with the family this evening, try to give my voice a little bit of rest. What a great stream. You guys were awesome. I know it was a little different time than we often do, but I appreciate all the love and support, the super chats, the resubs, the bits. Hopefully you guys got a cool emoji out of the hype train. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. I know the YouTube channel's been a little bit barren for a couple weeks. I'm recovering, guys, and I'm not in best speaking voice. So we'll get through this and look for more to come later in the year. I'm excited. We're heading into the election. We're heading into the holiday season, and things are exciting, right? Let's keep our heads up, regardless of what happens tomorrow, guys. Whether your candidate wins or loses, our hope and trust is in God, not in man. We do not trust in princes or chariots or things like that. Instead, we trust in God, and He's going to guide and direct our steps. And whatever happens, He works all things together for good. We are His people, and let's do our best to shine a light to a lost and dying world, irrespective of what happens tomorrow. You guys are amazing. GG. Much love to you, Yeptar. Thank you so much for all your guys' love and support, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week this week, and we'll see you again next time. Take care. God bless. Bye.